thunderheads gathered like warring titans above the jagged spine of Colorado's Rockies. Lightning stitched silver veins across a bruised sky, illuminating the vast alpine wilderness surrounding the high ridgelines near Rocky Mountain National Park. At nearly 14,000 feet, the air was thin enough to taste. Lena Morales tasted it with a grin. 28 years old, botanist, researcher out of Denver, she had not climbed into this savage altitude for scenery. She was hunting something rarer than gold. Snow orchids rumored to bloom only in isolated cirques untouched by modern mapping. A pharmaceutical breakthrough could be hidden in their fragile petals. Her pack bulged with specimen vials, satellite gear, rope, and survival equipment. Yet it wasn't the altitude that tightened her pulse. It was the ranger's warning. The old man at the trailhead had leaned against his truck, beard white as frost, voice rough as shale. "Rockies got haints up there, miss. Eyes in the mist. Stay on the marked trails, or the Guardian claims ya." She had laughed. Now, alone on a knife-edged ridge with fog coiling at her boots, she wasn't laughing. Before the mountains reveal what's watching, take a moment. If stories like this pull you into wild places, ancient legends, and quiet danger, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications too, so you're always here when the next story rises. Now, back to the ridge. A branch snapped behind her. Sharp, clean, close. She spun, breath misting, hand flying to the knife strapped at her thigh. The clouds swirled. Nothing stood there, only granite teeth and drifting vapor. "Altitude paranoia," she muttered. Then she saw it. A silhouette tall, broad-shouldered, formed within the fog. Not quite human, not quite shadow. It flickered once, then dissolved into air. Her heart slammed. Instead of retreating, Lena adjusted her pack and pressed forward toward the coordinates she had marked, the legendary Ghost Falls, whispered about in fragmented Ute stories archived in university folklore texts. Night fell like a curtain drop. She pitched her tent on a narrow shelf carved into stone, headlamps slicing through thickening mist. The temperature plummeted. Wind hissed across the ridge like a living thing. Then came the footsteps. Soft, measured, circling. Crunch, pause, crunch. Her fingers tightened around her knife. "Show yourself," the wind answered. A voice slipped through the storm, low, resonant, impossibly close to her ear. "Descend or perish." Her tent flap jerked open in a violent gust, but when she lunged forward, blade raised, nothing stood there. Only snow. Morning revealed something far stranger. Hanging from the strap of her pack was a small wooden pendant she did not recognize. Hand-carved, a thunderbird, wings outstretched, eyes etched with startling precision. The wood felt warm despite the freezing air. Her grandmother's stories surfaced unbidden, Cherokee exile legends passed down in hushed tones, tales of a spectral warden known as the Invisible Guardian, protector of sacred peaks, visible only when fate demanded it. Lena stared at the pendant. "Fine," she whispered to the mountains. "Let's see who's guarding what." She didn't descend. The days that followed blurred into a relentless trial of nerve and survival. She scaled vertical granite faces where one slip meant oblivion. Twice her rope frayed mysteriously at crucial anchor points, yet unseen force steadied her balance. Once an avalanche thundered down a distant slope moments after she vacated it, as though something had nudged her out of its path. Inside a hidden cavern glazed in ice, she found bioluminescent fungi painting the walls in ghostly blue light. It was there she first felt him clearly, an electric awareness prickling across her skin. "You've been following me," she said into the hollow dark. The air thickened, and then he stepped forward, massive, carved as if from the mountain itself, skin bronzed like sun-warmed granite, dark hair whipping in unseen wind. His eyes held storms, ancient, furious. alive. He was no mist shadow now. He was real. "You should not be here," he said, voice deep as shifting stone. "Too late," she replied, refusing to retreat. "Who are you?" "Jax." The name seemed to vibrate within the cavern. Guardian of these peaks. Legend fused with flesh before her eyes. He told her the rest in fragments, of a hidden lineage born from Ute and Cherokee bloodlines, of sacred lands plundered, of betrayal. A shaman's curse had bound him to the mountains, half seen, half felt, condemned to phase between worlds unless summoned by danger or powerful emotion. For decades he had hunted smugglers and relic thieves who carved wounds into the Rockies. "And me?" she asked softly. His gaze darkened. "You are fire. The curse bends near you." The distance between them vanished. The storm outside intensified, sleet striking stone, yet the air between them burned. His hand brushed her jaw, hesitant, almost reverent. The world narrowed to breath and heartbeat. Their first kiss was not gentle. It was collision, two forces meeting after lifetimes of isolation. Snow and thunder and longing fused in that moment, something fierce and undeniable igniting between them. For the first time in decades, Jax did not fade. But mountains never surrender peace for long. Vance Harrington had always hated losing. Back in Denver, Lena had dismantled his falsified grant proposal, exposing manipulated data before a national research board. His academic disgrace had metastasized into obsession. When he intercepted her satellite pings and discovered the potential pharmaceutical value of snow orchids, revenge found profit. He arrived with armed men and extraction gear, and he came hunting. The blizzard hit before dawn. Jax had phased into the storm to scout the perimeter when Lena heard the crunch of multiple boots, too heavy to be wind. A red laser dot flickered across her tent. "Well, well," Vance called through the gale, "Miss Perfect." She burst from the tent, knife flashing. One man went down with a cry as she slashed his arm. Another stumbled when she drove her boot into his knee, but there were too many. Rough hands seized her. They dragged her to a corniced edge overlooking a 2,000-foot drop into white nothingness. "Hand over your samples," Vance sneered, rifle leveled, "or I let gravity finish the research." The wind roared louder. Then the storm shifted. A violent force erupted among the raiders. Rifles tore from hands as if yanked by invisible cables. Men were flung into drifts. Snow spiraled upward in a furious vortex. Jax materialized in the center of chaos, solid, furious, unstoppable. He struck like a landslide, bone against bone, fury against greed. Steel fought savagely, blade flashing. Steel cut deep across Jax's flank. Blood stained snow. With a final brutal surge, Jax hurled Vance backward. The man's scream vanished into the abyss below. Silence fell, broken only by the storm's fading howl. Jax staggered toward Lena, then flickered. The curse pulled at him violently. "I can't hold form. The blood curse." She caught him before he fell. "You're not disappearing on me," she said fiercely. Dragging him through snowdrifts nearly broke her. But she reached the Ghost Falls, a frozen cascade concealing a rune-carved grotto behind a curtain of ice. According to fragmented prophecy texts she'd once dismissed as myth, the fall's thaw carried cleansing power for those bound unjustly. Gunfire echoed in the distance. The remaining raiders regrouped. Lena worked with desperate brilliance, rigging flares to destabilize a snow shelf. When the men advanced, the mountain answered. A controlled avalanche swallowed their approach, burying equipment and forcing retreat. Inside the grotto, blue fungi cast an otherworldly glow. Jax lay pale, breath shallow. She crushed snow orchid petals into a poultice, mixing them with alpine salves. The pendant pulsed warm in her palm. "Stay with me," she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. "You fight for these mountains. Let me fight for you." Outside, ice cracked. The frozen falls began to fracture under geothermal thaw. Steam erupted in luminous spirals, filling the cavern with shimmering light. Jax convulsed as if lightning struck through him. The pendant flared bright. For one terrifying second, his form shattered into motes of light, then reassembled, solid, breathing, alive. The curse had broken. When the remaining raiders attempted one final assault, they found not a spectral warden, but a warrior of flesh and fury. Jax fought beside Lena, not as shadow, but as man. Together, they disarmed and subdued the surviving men until federal authorities, alerted by Lena's emergency beacon, arrived to make arrests. By dawn, the storm had cleared. The Rockies stretched endless and gold beneath the rising sun. Snow orchids shimmered in quiet resilience across the cirque. Jax stood beside her at the summit, visible, free. "For the first time," he said softly, "I can leave these peaks." "Will you?" she asked. He looked at her, not at the horizon. "These mountains will endure, but I choose where I stand now." She split the Thunderbird pendant in two, pressing half into his palm. "Then walk with me." The wind carried no whispers this time, no warnings, only promise. Hand in hand, they descended the sacred peaks, not as guardian and trespasser, not as curse and fire, but as equals. And somewhere deep within the Rockies, the ancient stones seemed to hum in approval.